Hey everybody, welcome back to Play Casket. This is your hosts, Paraka the Goblin and
Ghost, your co-host.
And this week we're going to kind of follow up on the RPG stuff of last week, but we're going to kind of elaborate on more on like the romancing parts and why it's actually important in a lot of like RPG games and such. And I believe you had a lot more points to kind of make a point of that I figured it would be good for this. So I'm going to let you go ahead and start off with that.
Okay. Well, I guess it's more along the lines of why it matters. Yes, we know it's not real, but it allows us to flesh out the characters, which is... It brings it back to tabletop when... Like, why tabletop is different compared to the video game, or not video game, but like why games are so limited compared to tabletop RPGs. Because in tabletop RPGs, you know, you're allowed to interact with your friends across the table. The DM could create scenarios, and with video games, you're limited to what the script will allow you to do.
Yeah, what the script will and what was developed and stuff.
So, you really crave to know more about your character when you know you find like the really cute girl in your team and you want her in a party, but that's all you could do. But adding romancing lines or extra dialogue makes you invest in the character more. So I see it as a very, very interesting mechanic.
Yeah, and add on to the mechanic thing, actually, not all role-playing games need this, but it's one of those ones that allow you to kind of experiment on certain ideas and stuff. A good example that you were bringing up before was the marriage mechanic in Fire Emblem, which I'll elaborate more on. Like, when you make a decision on, it's permanent, right?
Yeah.
So you want to replay it and try out, or even like save beforehand and try out different unions to see what better characters get generated from that.
Give us a harem ending, or give us a harem.
A harem ending.
That'd be awesome.
Some games do that, but we're not allowed to talk about it on certain like platforms we're on. But it's very similar to stuff like very permanent, very direct RPG choices. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people actually enjoyed Diablo 2 is because the stats that you add to your character is permanent. You can't respec anything.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
If you want to try a different type of build, you go to the beginning and you start again. And that's what a lot of people enjoyed. And there's a lot of there's a lot of similarities to that.
But the thing is, who are we kidding? You're going to do the same build the next time you reset your character.
Well, if you're trying to be efficient, that's basically what a lot of like MMOs end up doing and stuff too. But Diablo 2, after you get to a certain point, you have your raid characters and you had your farm characters. But there's other ones where people would experiment with oddball things, but of course it's like a flash in the pan, like, oh, that's a wacky one, and then continue on.
Now that I think about it too, that's kind of interesting. Maybe because like the way you spec your character is also how you invest in your character personally. Yeah,
it's basically putting yourself into that character's shoes. Like when you want to add certain stats that you feel comfortable with, it's in a way adding yourself into that. Okay. And romancing is more on a broader spectrum. It's an extension of that type of action, which both of basically come from the tabletop thing. You want to talk and try to get romances and stuff. You could communicate with your other players that might be in controlling of that new romance or the DM in of itself in order to see whether or not that romance can play out. Yeah. Whereas video game, they're scripted, so you know they're going to play out, but what type of rewards you're going to get are going to be different from each one, which makes sense, right? But not all RPGs would benefit from it. You know what I mean? There's some out there that just won't. For instance, again, Diablo 2. If there was a romance type of thing, I don't see that. I don't see Diablo as a series or like the isometric dungeon crawler type as a series. Yeah. To really benefit from something like that.
Yeah, I mean, right? You're just collecting loot, so
yeah. It's
unless it's Xenoblade.
Loot pinatas.
Unless it's Xenoblade and you
fall
in love with your weapon and equipment.
No, those are loot pinatas too. They're just pinatas with tits. But pardon me. But But that's basically what it is. Mm-hmm. But when you do add it, like it does, like you said, it adds another level of your character. It's like an extension of your character. Yeah. Is what I see it, right? Okay. But when you do add something like that, you really benefit by having more options. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people think that every option should be viable, period. But sometimes adding some rigidity kind of makes you understand, like it's a little closer to a reasonable real life experience, you know.
Well, you can't forget that the character is not you either, though.
That's true.
Because if you do end up doing that, like, oh, your character could romance with anyone, your character will just be a cardboard cutout of the generic, really good
It's
person.
literally playing out your fantasies.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So when you have characters that aren't down with certain aspects or whatever, mm-hmm. then that's somebody you can't force them to do that.
Yeah.
Very similar to Real World, but they're saying it's video games, you should be able to do that. Well, counter argument is, should I be able to make sure all my villains that I fight are actually heroes and we don't actually fight at all?
Oh, another interesting thing too is when you can't romance everyone, conflict also makes a character more dynamic. That's a good because when everybody gets along, it's so boring. Super Robot Wars, Endless Frontier on the DS. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of them don't really get along, but they're so funny and they're really quippy because they don't get along. If everybody would have gotten along, it would have been just really bland and everybody...
It'd be basically Twitter.
Yeah.
That's why we're not on it.
Yeah.
So don't try to follow us there. It's horrible. But no, that's the point, right? Yeah. Like, if you want that control, then where does that control end? You know what I mean? Like, why can't I just make all the villains... You know, like, some people really fantasize about being villains or being the villainous characters because they look cooler and stuff. That's why Sephiroth was so exciting and why people just lost control of the internet because when he was announced for Smash Brothers.
Pagan Min. Right? I wish I could play him. Far Cry team should make Pagan Min a main character.
Maybe one of these.
Him. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the point. Like, where does the control should end?
Yeah.
You know, and it's not being hyperbolic. It brings up a different conversation altogether, right? Mm-hmm. When you're not able to, if you're allowed to romance everyone, then why can't you romance everyone? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, well, why can't I control these villains because they're bad? Well, why can't I control them and tell them that they're good so I can romancing them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if it's just one, then if it's one for you, then what about everyone else? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that conflict is reason why you're even playing the game to begin with.
Unless you play Fire Emblem Fates long enough to unlock the other army, and then you can
join Smash. No, terrible. But that's the point. The little rigidity. Like, there's some people who like might not be down for that type of thing.
Yeah.
And like that should be something that is actively, like, you know, kind of portrayed, and it brings a different type of characteristic to that character and makes you understand that character a bit more, whether or not you take it as a negative, positive, or otherwise something that just changes how you should view it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you should limit options. That just means you should be adding different other options for people to kind of turn around with.
Okay.
Because more options, especially ones with consequences, even in romance, like your offspring or like the way the characters react to you, should be beneficial. In fact, I think offspring is probably the easiest way because even life sims do it, mm-hmm. right? Like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, and stuff like that. Offspring tend to be the de facto reward for romancing.
Yeah.
Right? I would like to see stuff that do romancing, but not immediately reward a player with offspring or of any type of whatever, but more that it adds a certain set of challenges based on the other character you just romanced.
Okay.
This is a very similar, like, kind of like a fun dynamic than instead of just a cardboard cutout of your love interest. Like, you can do it. I believe in you. You're the hero. I would like to see something that has more challenges because of the character's personality traits. You know what I mean? That's a lot asking. Okay. But like, say if you team up with somebody who has a very aggressive personality, mm-hmm. right? Let's say you end up romancing them, you have a habit of getting into more fights because of that person.
Okay.
You know, I think that like that being very blunt example would actually somebody could build on that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think more should do that. I do think a couple do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you marry the shy girl, you have to encourage her to kind of wake up out of that type of thing, and your challenge is like constantly being able to bring her to parties or something like that, something to that point, right? But that's something they could definitely build on. I would like to see more like that instead of the reward of, oh, you married somebody, here's a kid.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
like Harvest Moon did that all the time. It got to a point where it was kind of expected as a mechanic in it.
Oh, okay. Because it just brings me back to like a good DM. They're able to fix a situation regardless of what happens instead of just, oh, a boulder blocks your path. Go to the right. No, screw you. I'm gonna sequence break. I'm gonna go through the boulder, or I'm gonna find a way to fight the final boss, even if I'm level 1. Like
yeah. That and
don't result everything in a death. Like I want a sequence break. Oh, you died.
No, I guess I'm going to sequence break. Well, you broke your foot, and then you got to get carried to the other hospital in the other town because the other town's hospital can't get through the boulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, legit. I think that'd be very clever too.
Yeah.
But I think with challenges like what I just said, I think would actually add more to it because think about it. If one ends up increasing your like challenge, would another one turn around and do something different, not just a passive reward, but like a different set of challenges for each way romancing goes.
Okay.
I think would be beneficial. I think like the way romancing is in games, I like them.
Yeah.
And when it means something, when it makes sense, you don't just add it to something like Bayonetta.
And then sometimes you'll get free items from your significant other.
Yeah, something to that point, or you have to, or there's certain things you have to do to kind of get certain boosts and stuff like that. Like, oh, she likes to come in and like do a double attack or something to that point.
Yeah.
But only if she's happy. Yeah. Like something to that point. And that would be amusing, right?
Okay.
And I think that would be an interesting mechanic and stuff. And I think that's something people. I think there's a lot more to build on, even though romancing has been around since even before video games, right? So there's so much they can build on it. It's just easier to default to a baby, your offspring. I
mean, Pokemon, if they like you enough.
Yeah.
They could shrug off attacks and avoid other things,
Yeah. Or if they don't like you enough, they're just going to ignore you anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Waifus are Pokemon, right?
That makes sense now. That makes... Dragalia lost. Cleo is dark type. But no, like seriously, I think there would be a lot to that, right?
Yeah.
But as I said, like even life simulators, like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, which is an amazing game, by the way, and Story of Seasons, which is the actual Harvest Moon, because if anybody's paying attention, that story is huge. I feel like we should go into that one day. But that's another one that could really work with too.
Yeah.
Because with Harvest Moon / Story of Seasons, you got a kid, so you had 2 more people working on the farm.
Mm-hmm. But
I do think new challenges should arise. You have a kid. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
It should be fun challenges.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just make your life absolutely annoying playing the game.
Yeah.
But it should be fun ones, like the kid goes off and like you gotta go find him and stuff, and turns out he's in the river, so you gotta go fish him out. So you actually use the fishing mechanic more than just fishing and stuff. It stuff like that, right?
Okay, yeah.
I think it would be very amusing. It'd be entertaining, right? And if people want to do like same-sex ones, the reward is like you're adopting something.
Yeah.
You can still work around it and still add those challenges. There could be challenges with the significant other regardless.
Yeah.
Right? So it's stuff like that, even with life sims. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see more with permanent consequences. Meaning like if you choose this is how it is. You know what I mean? You don't just go, oh, I mulligan and then go pick another person.
Load save file.
Well, that's that's a consumer part.
Yeah.
Like you can always do that anyway before a boss. I'm talking about in games where you can respec characters. You can always I would like to see more permanent consequences where players go, I have to choose this. I'm stuck going down this path.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that people will want to play the game again and choose a different path to see how those challenges work and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, but that's a lot to work.
Oh no, it's going to be a lot of work. I'm not saying it's not going to, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be very elaborate. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's simple, just to add a dash of different challenges that you didn't get to experience in the base game, basically. Okay. You know, I think it would be interesting. I do think just adding a few little moments here and there, that's fine. And people can eventually build on that. I'm saying we've been basically on the baseline for a long time.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's only been Fire Emblem that's been doing it.
I think Fire Emblem. I think Fire Emblem kind of experimented a bit more. I do think the later Story of Seasons kind of experimented a bit more, but I feel like a lot of them want to play it safe, especially like Story of Seasons and stuff, because it's a series that hasn't gotten a lot of love in the past few years, and now that it's coming out, it's not something that a major portion of the gaming industry enjoys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're not going to put their money into something like that without knowing at least something's going to... There's worth enough that people are going to respond to it.
Okay.
But just adding a few dashes of there will change it up enough where people are like, okay, we'll try that now.
Yeah.
And then, people start seeing that's a good idea. People will start talking about that. And then other companies will probably go even a step further.
Yeah. Which also brings me back to dating sims. If they ever start doing it, a good DM could probably... what if you buy a dating sim and there's like 3 girls you could choose from? I choose none. Then what happens? Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be interesting.
A good DM can fix it. Yeah.
Speaking of dating sims too, there's a game that's coming out on the Switch. It's already on the PC, and I believe it's on the PlayStation 4. I don't know anything about the Xbox. But there's a game called Boyfriend Dungeon. Basically, your boyfriend is a human manifestation of these weapons that turn back into weapons when you go dungeon crawl and you do all the weird stuff. That's an interesting take on it, but I feel like that's more of a stat building type of mechanic of consequence and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then you just have dialogue that you...
And then you just have dialogue, right? So, but there's stuff they can build on it, right? So it'd be a good point where like, oh well, like if I'm dating 2 different guys, one can get jealous. What happens if they just add fire to it because he's angry? But can also burn you every now and again.
Oh, okay.
You know, like something to that point, right?
Yeah.
Adding a little dash of extra the next time they come around to that type of mechanic would bring people to talk about it, and then somebody else is going to hear about it and like, what if we do even more? It's like we've just been sitting on the base for a while. I feel like it'd be something that's worth building upon. Okay. But yeah, no, that's different stuff. I like it because it does give it a different perspective to characters.
Yeah.
Like you said.
Gives you more insight rather than just, eventually you'll get dialogue. But yeah.
More insight, and especially stuff that feels a little bit more heavier. Like, love in of itself isn't, like, fun, really. You don't have to make it serious all the time, though. But it can give you a note where the character's like, oh, okay, so he's a little jealous, or he's a little apprehensive, or, whatever, right? But I will say that one of the worst things that come out of these type of like romancing in video games is shipping.
Oh my god.
In fact, just characters existing in general just causes shipping now.
Oh man.
Like, oh my god, did these 2 characters just spend 6 seconds of screen time together? Oh my god, they're in love. No, one of them's a talking rat. Please stop. 2 of them are brothers. You sick fuck.
Oh man.
Please stop. The buck stops here.
Yeah.
Please. But that's just the nature of it, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's also
But that's why we invented cannons.
Yeah.
They sink ships.
Fucker ship. Yeah.
That's why I like firearms, people.
I don't know. Lucky for me, I got one character is Kai and Dizzy from Guilty Gear.
Okay.
Yeah, best fanfic ever lived. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't play too many like games that have very defined characters that I end up romancing a lot in. Like a lot of my experiences have been with older Harvest Moon and the current Story of Seasons and Rune Factory Frontier and Rune Factory 4.
Yeah.
That's basically where my experience has been. They're great, but there's not been characters that stood out so much to me like, oh man, they would make a perfect pair. Like, I've never really thought about shipping beyond playing of my main character. I'm like, okay, you know what? Ironically, though, most of the times I've shipped my character with, it's always been with a shopkeeper girl.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe she's a capitalist and goblins just kind of love that shit. But I've almost always done. Like, I think Rune Factory Frontier, I did the priestess or something like that. It's been a while, so I'm probably remembering wrong.
Okay.
But most of the time, almost always the shopkeeper.
I don't know.
I don't get why.
Gearhead
capitalism.
Gearhead girls? Yeah. Oh, man.
Says the man who likes Starja.
Maybe, right? Well, maybe she fixes magic and stuff. I don't know.
She has a magic wrench. Giggity. But yeah, no, that's basically. I felt like this type of feature is something we needed to talk a little bit more about because it wasn't just RPGs. It transcends a lot of other games out there.
Well, I mean, like Square Enix, I think they've kind of forgotten to. They've
never really done that. They've never really done romance stuff much, though. But it would be an interesting thing to see what Square can do with such a project.
Well, what happened? Then they should just call it role. They should stop calling it RPGs and then just call them.
Press A to sword.
Yeah, or something. I don't know, because you're not really role playing anymore. It's just you're just slogging through text before you play the game again.
It's a level test. It's a level test.
Yeah,
it's a level gauge all the time.
So.
But yeah, no, absolutely. But that's probably all I got to say about it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good on this too. Hopefully, we'll come back to it eventually.
Well, like if more comes up, we talk about more of that. But
yeah.
Thank you guys all for listening, and of course, if you like our content, go ahead and smash that like button, and perhaps consider subscribing.
Thumbs up, remind.
Thumbs up, remind. Also, if you wish to support us on any other channels, we actually have links on the bottom for stuff such as BitChute, Rumble, Gab, and Minds, if you would like to follow us on any of those. And, thank you guys all for listening, and we will see you on the other side. Hey everyone, this is Paraka.
And Ghost.
I would like to say thank you for listening to our podcast.
If you like our content, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe and share our video with your friends.
You can also follow and support us on other social media such as Minds and Rumble. Links in the description below.